Assalamoalaikum, greetings of peace. My name is Hafsa and I'm your host for YATA Talks. Today in the studio with us is Imam Hosam Helal to talk to us about body modification and Islamic opinions on it. So, Assalamualaikum.
Walaikum assalam wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh.
Thank you so much for being here.
Thank you for having me.
Just really quickly, tell us a little bit about yourself and what you do in the community.
My name is Hosam Helal, serving as an Imam at the Islamic Society of St. Catherine's and helping out with as many communities as I can.
Alrighty, thank you. So, a common topic and something that's very popular in pop culture is body modification, like tattoos, piercing, plastic surgery, hair coloring. What is Islamic standard on that?
On all of that? MashaAllah, just briefly. Okay. So, Bismillah, alhamdulillah, wassalatu wassalamu ala rasulillah wa ala alihi wa sahbihi wa man wala. You know, when Yusuf, Prophet Yusuf, was in jail, he was wrongfully accused, and he was in jail. And he was asked to interpret a dream because people saw from him signs of goodness, signs of hope. They saw a good person, and they knew someone like him with all the positive appearance and the kindness of his heart. They knew that there was something special about him. So when they asked him that question, he took it as an opportunity first to teach them about Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. And anytime that someone asks me a question that is on the very periphery on Islam, you know what I mean? Like talking about body modification or any of these extra, I would say, peripheries that are far from the core, I always like to bring him back to the core. I like to bring him back to the fact that if you believe Allah is one, if you believe that He's unlimited, if you have full conviction that He is the source of life, that He owns this body, the skin that you are walking with, if you believe that ultimately, then you will have no problem submitting to His will and accepting whatever decision He makes. And you actually feel happy and comfortable going with that. Because if you believe that He's the Rabb, the caregiver, the provider, the loving being, the one that loves you more than you love yourself, the unlimited, you believe that anything that you have as a human being will be limited compared to His capacity to see. You have the pixel, He has the picture. So anytime you have an idea in your mind of how things should be, and that is a little bit different from the way Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala mandates, you have no problem saying, you know what, I accept that I'm limited, I accept that this is maybe short-sighted on my end, and I accept that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala sees much more than I see. So when it comes to body image, right, or body modification, we have a hadith by the Prophet Muhammad that make it very clear. And those hadith go back to understanding that this body that I have, this body that a human being has, is kind of a loan from Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. And that loan will have to be given back. Right, so if I give you a car, and here, take the car, use it to serve, use it to give back, use it to drive, use it to make imagine as you're a taxi driver, you're going to use this car to make some money. But you got to bring the car at the end of the day, and you bring the car with all this writing on it, and I just thought it would be cool to add my own touch to it. Well, no, you don't own the car. Like if I give you my phone to borrow because you need it, right? I give it to you, and it's use it for whatever you want. But at a certain moment, you have to give that phone back. Does that make sense? You can't bring that phone back with all this different modification on it, and you use it for whatever purpose you need to. So Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, He's the creator. He's the if you created this phone, you own rights to how this phone should operate, right? You own the phone. So Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is the creator. We believe that as Muslims. He is the Khaliq. He is the ultimate creator, right? So this that I have, it's His will, His ownership, His right to choose with it whatever is again up to Him to choose. So the Prophet Muhammad he again told us out of respect and out of humility, and we can understand in many ways that it is again impermissible in Islam to basically do body modifications that would involve basically ink and piercings. Except in areas where it was the culture and the norm. Like for example, piercings in the nose would be fine, piercings in the ear would be fine for the sisters, as that was basically the cultural norm at the time. Right? Those light piercings as a form of as a form of minor beauty, and those were acceptable, right? But piercings elsewhere, and those are considered recent appearances or throughout history that the Prophet Muhammad did not affirm, nor did the fuqaha throughout time basically affirmed and accepted as okay.
So you spoke about culture, and you said how different cultures that was socially and culturally acceptable at that time, like the ear and the nose for women.
Yeah.
So then now, if you look at a new culture or in different cultures, different sort of things are acceptable. Like in some cultures, tattoos are the norm, or piercings are the norm. So what would you say about that?
If it goes against a direct command of the Prophet Muhammad ﷺ, it's out the window. Very
Okay.
simple. If it doesn't, there's room for it to be accommodated. For example, if there's a culture that considered it okay to have tattoos, it doesn't matter, even if the whole world accepts it, because there's a direct command of the Prophet Muhammad ﷺ against it. But that's a discussion that the fuqaha would then basically approach and discuss in detail. Well, what does it exactly mean? What were the definitions? And that's why you have some ulama saying it's completely forbidden. Other ulama saying, well, it's makruh, it's disliked. And they'll give examples as to, these are important definitions. And they will get into more detail about that.
So another form of body modification is plastic surgery. And there's, I think, many different kinds of plastic surgery, but there's cosmetic and medical. So what would be say if your nose was hurt and your nose was broken?
Anything to reverse a physical a physical abnormality, if you want to say, back to a proper physical normal appearance would be considered acceptable. Like, let's say, for example, someone lost a finger or lost a hand and they want to basically go through a surgery to recover, that will be acceptable. Right? Anything to enhance and to add in your own definition would not be considered acceptable, because Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala created you in the best form, in the best morphology. لَقَدْ خَلَقْنَا الْإِنسَانَ فِي أَحْسَنِ تَقْوِيمٍ. We've created the human being in the best form. So accept, be happy with your skin, be happy with who you are. And that's what Islam tells us, to really embrace you, embrace yourself as a creation of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Humble yourself, but at the same time be happy in your own skin. Be grateful for the gift of life. Be grateful for the gift of being able to even, subhanAllah, be functional and existent in the world, right? And there, if you study, why certain people like to add or pierce, and the concept of it, the concept itself, it depends. This could be a psychological endeavor on its own, but the concept, if you're saying, I'm not happy with the way things are, I need to make a statement, I need a way to be more appealing, I need a way to stand out, and all those things go against many of the beautiful teachings of Islam, which talk about humility, being kind with who you are, being accepting of your body, being accepting of what Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala gave you, and working to enhance what you have within the Sharia. There's nothing wrong with working out, there's nothing wrong with being strong, there's nothing wrong with being, physically, representing strength in many ways. But those modifications and additions, going back, would be going away from what the Sharia has mandated.
So far what you've said is that we have some things that are in the absolute wrong range, like tattoos and cosmetic body modification, and then we have some things in the gray range, like cultural piercing. So something that is very often done, like dyeing your hair or cutting your hair or shaving hair extensions, where does that fall along that line?
For who? For men or for women?
Both.
Yeah. Dyeing your hair, Islamically speaking, you can dye it to any color, right? Except, and I'm talking about men and women, and I'll make the distinction in a second, but for men, you can't dye it back to the original color of your head after you've aged. Because that's considered, like, imagine your original hair color is black, and now your hair is gray, and you dye it black. It's as though you want to relive the age of youngness, right? But actually, in Islam, again, it's beautiful to embrace your age. You have gray hair, it's beautiful. If you want to dye it, just to change things up, you can dye it to any other color, like you can dye it to red, you can whatever, and the beard, for example, you can dye, right? So those would be fine. A woman can also dye her hair to those different colors as well. Of course, keeping in mind that the hijab would be a mandate nonetheless. That will be basically her own private personal choice, as long as it doesn't contradict with any of the nusus, the text that we have from the Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam. But yes, the door is very open when it comes to color.
So why do you think that youth in general have this kind of craving, this urge to get into body modifications? A lot of youth, they say, I would if I wasn't Muslim. I've heard that. So why do you think there is this kind of need for body modification?
It's again, you can't speak on behalf of all the youth, and you can't speak on behalf of a large population of people. I think, again, a lot of it has to do with looking up to role models, looking up to people who may have this. Messi's hair looks awesome, man. Ronaldo's hair looks great. Whomever else, subhanallah. And that itself should be something that we have to look into as Muslims. We have to allow for the best of our role models, mashallah, to walk with dignity and to walk with respect to the point where the youngsters want to be them, right? I think it goes back to not having enough role models. Anytime there's someone that is popularized in the community, popularized in the media, they seem to be, hip and cool, and Islam is kind of portrayed as this backward, like Miskeen Sheikh is coming and he's like dying and he's old, his teeth are falling apart. That's not the way so the self-image of the Muslim itself needs to be, again, rechecked, if I may say.
Alrighty, so just quickly, first of all, thank you so much for talking with us on this topic. If you could give a message to our viewers who are watching about body modification, or what your message is to them.
You're beautiful the way Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala created you. Check this story out, and I hope inshallah it resonates. It's a beautiful story, and it's a commentary on Surah At-Teen. So there's a man and a woman who got married at the time, I believe, of Abu Ja'far al-Mansur. And the guy it's basically their wedding night, and he's holding his wife's hand, and they're walking out after they did the ceremony, and it's a beautiful white moon, fully bright. So the guy is looking at his wife, looking at the moon behind, looking at his wife, looking at the moon, looking at his wife, looking at the moon, and then he turns to his wife and he says, "I swear you are prettier than the full moon." And for the Arabs, like, it's a desert, the most beautiful thing is the moon. Like, they didn't have all the fancy things that we do. So he looks at his wife, "You are more beautiful than the moon." She's like, "Oh, please stop it." Then he tells you, listen. "I am so sure that you're more beautiful than the moon that I'm willing to divorce you 3 times if the moon is better looking than you." He got too excited. So he's going to divorce her if the moon is better looking. So then she drops his hand. She's like, "Stop it, don't touch me. You said you divorced me 3 times if the moon is better looking. And I don't think I'm more pretty than the moon. You crazy fool?" So she tells him, we're not married until you go back to the Khalifa in Medina, I believe at the time, or the Khalifa Abu Ja'far al-Mansur, perhaps Iraq, and you ask him for a fatwa that I am more pretty than the moon. And only then will I touch you. Only then will we basically be husband and wife. So he kind of panics. Imagine the miskeen, he's a poor guy. He wants to spend some time with his wife. It's finally lawful. Now he has to spend the night waiting for the Khalifa to come in. He finally goes and he asks the Khalifa. The Khalifa is so amused that he brings all the scholars. Come, check. Tell him the story. Tell him the story again. So he mentions the story. And the older shuyukh sitting, they say, "Oh man, it's done. You divorced her. Because I don't think any human being is better looking than the moon, with all due respect." Then there's a younger guy, he's a student of Imam Abu Hanifa, and he says, there's no room to say anything after Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has already legislated and already said. But what did Allah say? لَقَدْ خَلَقَنَا الْإِنسَانَ فِي أَحْسَنِ تَقْوِيمٍ. We've created the human being in the best form. So he said to him, if your wife is a human, which obviously she is better looking than any creation, any other creation, because the human being is created in the best form. So just go back to your wife and tell her she is more beautiful than the moon because she's a creation of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. So what I want to send to my sisters and my brothers is Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala created you beautiful, handsome, the way you are. You don't need to aspire to anyone else's ideals. You don't need to aspire to anyone else's standards. Accept your own skin and work with what you have. Work with what you have, right? And be grateful for the gift of existing. And don't get so caught up in the flow of, this and extension that, and this and that. Don't get caught up into that. Don't get up into commercializing the body and commercializing or the hypersexualization of society. And know that what you have is a gift from Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Use it, enhance it in what is halal, and know that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala will give you the best and allow you to see the best in yourself, inshallah.
Well, thank you so much once again for being here and for that story.
Have a blessing. Give you Jannah Firdaus.
If you're interested in getting in contact with Brother Hosam Helal, look at our links below. Keep emailing us your questions at YATA Talks, and I'm your host, Hafsa.